Hey y'all, welcome to the Max Life. Today I want to take you on a tour of something that I think that y'all will really enjoy. I want to go into some details on how we have things set up and why we have them set up like we do. But first I want to give you an update of my little chicks. If you guys seen my white Jersey Giants that I got a couple of weeks ago, y'all saw me set up the area for them. They are currently still in our shop right now, but not for too much longer, maybe for another week. At best, they are fixing to go ahead and get moved out. I have a little mobile chicken coop that they will go in, and they will stay close to me until they get a little bit bigger. Then we will move them down to the chicken barn, which is where we're about to go on our tour. So y'all hang tight. Let's get started. There are the white Jersey Giants. If you can see, they have really started growing out well. They were actually like this real dark gray, almost black, and I told Colby, I was like, we've never owned white Jersey Giants before, but I said, these are really not white. A lot of chicks hatch out, they're all different colors, but they are starting to get their full feathers in, and they are starting to turn white, and they're really pretty. They don't really like us that much because we don't have a whole lot of interaction with them, but okay, I'm gonna leave them alone. We don't do a whole lot of interaction with them unless we're just like feeding and watering them, just simply because we don't have a lot of time to just come out here and like hang out with the chicks or whatever. But they are growing off really nice, and I am going to, while I'm getting my boots on for us to go down to the chicken barn, I'm going to tell y'all this. So we bought 12 American breasts. We still have all 12. We bought 12 hens of the white Jersey Giants and 5 roosters, and guess what, y'all? We still have them all. So that just goes to show you, in my opinion, I have never felt like that it's ever been a problem with us, how we raise them, what we're feeding them. This last batch of Cornish cross, and I have told y'all this before, we lost almost half of the Cornish cross. The time before that, we lost about 1/4 of the birds from that. We have not always had that problem. The thing with the Cornish cross is almost like their genetics are getting worse. And I'm gonna tell y'all something else that I've noticed about this whole homestead community is we're not the only ones making the notice and have made the change. There are a lot of homesteaders that we just watch on an average basis that has swapped. They have been very dissatisfied with the Cornish cross, and it's something that we have done for years, but I know we're not the only ones noticing that. If you buy 70 and you're only butchering 40 or 50, that's a problem, especially when they're dying from the time you get them to literally butchering day, and that was our case as well. They were constantly dying from the day that we got them to literally the day that they were going to be processed. And the person that went in with us, because we ordered a really big batch, and half of them, again, it's not just the who's taking care of them, because the ones that got the other half of the batch, they also were on a totally different property raising similar style with moving the birds around. They always had fresh grass, knowing that they were very well taken care of, and they were too constantly losing birds. So that just goes to show you, white Jersey Giants and American breasts that are down by our chicken barn where we're fixing to take y'all. I said all that to say we have not lost one of those chicks from the instant that we got them until now. I actually have some of the roosters that are really close to going to freezer camp of my American breast. The rest of those, however, we are going to be keeping for our breeding. They will be laying eggs. I will be incubating them. I will be hatching out their eggs for our meat birds. So we're keeping those, but we don't need half of them to be roosters. So some of those do have to come on to freezer camp, but they are doing wonderful. They have grown off amazing. So it's definitely not a handler problem. I really feel like it's more of a genetic issue with the bird that is really starting to come out. I don't know genetics. I really don't know why. I know this bird has been out for a couple of decades, but I think we're really starting to see the negative effects of raising those birds. So I'm glad that we made the swap, and I'm sure that there are many other homesteaders that are raising these meat birds that, like I said, a lot of them are really starting to wake up to this is not really a good idea. So I just wanted to give y'all an update on those birds, and let's go down to the chicken barn. Are you a big baby, huh? Are you a big baby? Are you a big baby wanting your belly rubbed? Are you a big baby, huh, girl? All right, so we are down at our chicken barn, and the first thing I really wanted to kind of talk about was, I mean, you see, here's the mind behind the matter right here. So we went with a metal type structure. Looking at it from the outside, you would never think that this was really like a little metal.
They call it a horse barn or RV shed. That's exactly what it actually is. And so it's just a shell and just a roof from a little tin company that does these little prefab buildings. And we just kind of customized it a little bit to fit our needs.
Right, but it was probably, instead of coming in and building all of this out of wood from scratch, this was our better option as far as price, right?
Saved a tremendous amount of money, and all our goal has been to be innovative and also be, economic thinking, saying, okay, can we save money but also make sure our animals are covered? And I think this was a win-win for us.
That was kind of the shell, like Colby said, and we just come in and faced it off with just some really pretty wood to kind of give it that barn look, and also to enclose in the areas that we need. This is the side that we hold our animals, like if we have a bad storm that's going to come through, and our sheep they're not real delicate, they're pretty hardy, but if we know it's going to be really heavy winds, they're typically in temporary fencing, so if we know that bad weather is going to be coming, this is a great option for that. Also, if we need to pull a calf off, if we have a steer that's going to go to slaughter, if we have a pig we need to separate, any of those options, just having this building, we were able to utilize and close in an area big enough, y'all were able to see that, to where we can move those animals over here. We have an entrance door, we'll show y'all in a minute, and that has really made things a lot easier to just say, hey, you know what, we need to do this, here's the perfect spot for them right here. So not only do we have this structure just for the chickens and the rabbits, we can actually utilize this area back behind us that you see really for any other animal on the farm.
Back to a lot of our old videos, the editing is terrible, especially like the third or fourth video, but we show the old run and how we used to raise chickens. Nothing's wrong with that. That's kind of like the small backyard approach. However, we grew our chickens to be bigger, and so our operation grew, so our building needed to grow. We have done several versions of keeping chickens. We'll show you a few today with where the American breasts are. Also, we have a pull behind, kind of like a chicken tractor that drops manure all over the gardens. We've done ones like the chickshaw that Justin Rhodes does. We've done just about every aspect of raising chickens, and we now utilize the barn for what it is, and then we also have the ones working the gardens. Now, the reason we went with this design, for one thing, Misty loves the horse barn design. She always wanted these old rustic barns on the farm, so it kind of fit best of both worlds. We can park vehicles under here, we can raise animals, and then also make the wife happy. So that's a win-win for me too.
Seeing where our old chicken coop was, it was in a really, really low area of our yard. It stayed really wet and muddy, really no matter what we tried to do. It only had a cover on one spot, so it just wasn't ideal for us, and that's why we really said we kind of need to look at different options, and that's kind of what transpired us to say what is going to be the most economic, best thing that we can do for our chickens and our flock. Now, we have integrated some really cool things in the mix of that to help cover the cost. Like, one of the things that I do is sell eggs. Another thing that I do is hatch eggs for people. Being able to do that will help offset some of your expenses. Just keep those things in mind. So not only are you getting eggs, you're able to sell those eggs and you're able to hatch those eggs. And those little things will all add up and help offset some of that expense as well. So make your chickens work for you as well. That's something to keep in mind when you're looking at trying to expand or grow and it's going to cost you. Just remember to make them work for you. You know, you're there, you're feeding them, you're providing for them, so make them give you something back in return. Now, you see that this looks a little bit different than what we have on our chickens, and the reason why is because, for example, when we put our last steer over here, he was a big old boy, you know, and you just didn't want to stick him in we didn't want to stick him in any smaller of a space than we had to. And because he was pure muscle, we wanted to make sure we had something sturdy enough. So this was actually some material that we had left over from when we had our horses. Now, so we repurposed what we already had. If you don't have anything like this and you're thinking about this kind of style, I challenge you to maybe get on Facebook and go to some of your buy-seller trades. You may actually come across some of this stuff for cheaper than, definitely cheaper than what you could buy new. So you could look for some material that could hold in larger animals and suit those needs that you would need. Now, that's pretty much all it is to this area. We give them a covered roof and sunshine. Of course, you can see all the hay is down in here. Deep bedding is pretty easy over in this area. It really has never gotten nasty. So this has been a perfect place. So far in the year and a half or so, we have had sheep over here when we have weaned. We have, like I said, multiple steers that we have placed over here. It has worked out absolutely wonderful. The only thing that we have not had to house over here yet is pigs. And there may be a day that we need to do that. And if so, we have the area. But for right now, I think we have a big enough area out in our pig forest. We really have not needed to do that. But if we ever did, we have the space. So this has been a wonderful addition to just say, hey, we have the area. This is absolutely wonderful. So we've utilized it for that. This is our makeshift door over to our chickens and rabbits. Now, I will say somebody went just a little bit too low. We could have bumped that up just a little bit more, but no, seriously, it's fine. But I have hit my head on it a lot.
But what's the point? What's the purpose of this? Tell me the purpose of these panels.
So we did have to purchase these panels, but again, it was one of those situations where it was a whole lot more economical. Chicken wire, we just knew was not going to last. So we didn't want anything flimsy. If somebody was going to lean on it, it was going to tear it up. We just didn't want to even go there. So these are little pig panels. We made our own door out of it. These little bungee straps hold it in place whenever we need to pull it back and lock it up. But the main purpose of these, you're going to see that we have zip tied. That duck snuck back in.
I told you.
That duck, y'all, it gets in there. She gets in there and she bullies my chickens. And I have thrown her out a couple of times because we have a pond down there. And she doesn't even want to stay in the pond. She thinks she's a chicken, but she's the biggest one in there, so she bullies them. And I have thrown her out a bunch.
She got on to me yesterday for letting the duck back in, but now she realized how quick the duck
can get back in. Yeah, but I'm going to get her back out because she's mean to my chickens. But anyway, so really the main purpose behind these zip ties is it's done that way on both sides. Let's go ahead and come on in. So we have this, of course you can see over here on this side as well. Now the coolest part of all of this is every summer, probably towards the end of every summer, we're gonna come in, we're gonna actually pop these things off. We'll move the panel, we'll put the chickens down there, we'll clean all of that out with just a rake and shovel and bring it all to this side. We'll pop this panel off and put it down there. We will keep the chickens. Then we will have all of this open. Our tractor can come right up in here and we will literally just shovel that stuff into the tractor, carry it off and give them, they pretty much have clean bedding, but it's a way for us to be able to take all of this goodness out and utilize it here on our farm. Since we don't use commercial chemicals and fertilizers, it is a wonderful option to be able to move this off, bring the tractor up here, put all the chickens down there. We can use this little panel to keep them locked down there. We can clean all this out. That will be one of the things that we have to do. Move all this bedding out and let them start building it up again. So this is called deep bedding. When it starts raining, and a little bit of rain gets in, it kind of makes it mucky. We add a little bit of pine shaving. Now they come around and scratch it up, whatever. We'll add a little bit of pine shaving. For whatever reason, if it gets too poopy, which it really doesn't, but if it does, we add a little bit more pine shaven. So every couple of weeks we might go through like a bag for this whole area. But essentially what we've done is we have built layers of deep bedding. And if you come in and look, I can just scratch this back and you can see that it's just layers. And I could just keep going and going and going. But what that's doing is that's giving us good compost for us to use. So that was the whole idea behind this. If you did something like chicken wire or something like that, that might be a little difficult. I'm not saying that you couldn't do it. I'm just saying it might be a little bit difficult. So this hard wiring was really the idea behind holding up for a long time, lasting for a long time, but also being able to remove so that we can handle the deep bedding situation over here in the chickens.
It does not get really nasty. It's because we have a big enough area for them. So anytime you're talking about raising chickens, don't overpopulate your chickens because you get excited about it, because then you have to use more deep bedding, which costs you more money, or your chickens end up being nasty or getting sick. Our chickens don't get sick. We don't treat them in any way. The reason it does not get nasty, this is a 12 by 36 barn that they're actually in, and it's only 35 chickens. However, we have the second animal above them, which is now the rabbits. So we're using the same space without having to use the same bedding. So you're getting the best of both worlds with allowing them to have plenty of room to go, plenty of room for deep bedding, and not having any kind of nastiness. Like there's no really big smell other than just really the pine shavings, and you can have a faint smell of animals, but it's not bad at all. So we raise most of our rabbits in cages for a reason, because we collect their manure. Their manure is how we feed our gardens. So they have fresh food, fresh water each and every day. Now we have one rabbit hanging out down here with the chickens. This whole system really came to our perspective based on what we saw at Joel Salison's farm. He has a rabbit barn doing the same thing, chickens underneath and then rabbits on top. We are able to harness every bit of fertilizer from both animals and utilize in our gardens. This is the best way, the best life and again, no treatment for even the rabbits. Our goal is to always give them the best quality feed, best water, and keeping them in a sanitary situation where we're not having to treat them. So we're raising 35 birds, and then we have about 20 rabbits right now, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I forage for them a lot. So a lot of my sweet potato leaves, I go get them blackberry leaves. There are a lot of things that on my way up here, I will just stop because they're not out feasting in the woods. You know, they work for us, we feed them, they work for us. But I do harvest a lot for them, forage some natural green things that they would normally eat if they were out in the wild anyway. So yeah, they have been a great addition to the farm. I really love them because they are just so low maintenance. They're little, they require a little, but they give back a lot. So not only would they be able to give us manure, but they can also give us meat if we ever needed that. Of course, you know, a lot of people use their hides back in the day. So there's lots of things about the rabbits that you could utilize really for just a little bit of effort.
Rabbits is probably one of the best investments for any small homesteader, any backyard homesteader. When you talk about small, when people have small yards and say, we can't raise animals, you've got chickens and rabbits. Rabbits don't make any sound. So they're very easy to raise even in town. Think about bees, think about worms. Both of those are very good too. And they both have great purposes on a homestead or on a farm or just in your backyard.
Things about having the chicken barn close to the garden is because we can literally utilize it from the chicken barn right to our garden. You know, obviously we don't put hot manure over on our plants, but sometimes we do side dress a couple of things, and sometimes we put it there and let it compost in the area when we're not currently growing. There are seasons where we let things rest, and that's sometimes when we'll pull if we have extra rabbit manure, or we have, especially the rabbit manure, but if we are pulling any chicken manure out and we're gonna let a spot rest, it's very easy to bring it straight out of the barn and put it straight on the garden and let it rest, and then that way when we're ready to turn around and replant, it's already ready to go right then.
And almost the same principle here is the second chicken tracker that we actually have the breasts in right now. As Missy said, these are kind of like our meat birds now. They're sustainable meat bird. But we move this across the gardens too, so it allows their manure to fall right on the ground. We move it every other day. And so they're actually feeding the ground as they're actually giving us eggs and growing up to provide chicken for the farm.
Yeah, and they're helping take care of the bug issues, because as they're moving, if there are any bugs in the ground, bedded in the soil, whatever, they will actually come and scratch and eat from the ground. But the coolest thing, I have to show y'all this. Yesterday I got 2 eggs out, so I'm fixing to see if I have any eggs. I got these guys from a local in town back in March. It is the end of July and I got 2 eggs out, y'all, so I'm super pumped about that. Not only have we not lost one, but I'm also already getting eggs out. Let's see if there's any eggs in here. Oh yeah, there's one in there. There's only one in there, but there's one in there.
So we're building a meat bird that is sustainable, that is now giving us eggs off farm. So we get eggs all the time. So we're not.
There's a baby one on the other side.
We're not too excited about eggs always, because we get eggs every day, but we're excited when it's the sustainable meat source that we have.
Yes, because this is my plan with them. These guys right here will be the ones that I use to get my eggs from. Now I will take their eggs, incubate their eggs, and I have a couple of incubators, okay? I don't have but just a little bit of a problem. But that is gonna prove, though, now that I have these, all of my expenses are done. We've already done all of that. So now I get all my free eggs and hatch them out. And it's my little egg, y'all. So I even have another new little layer besides the one I already have laying. So it is very exciting to be sustainable on our farm in the meat birds. We're really excited. We hope y'all enjoyed this tour of our chicken barn and the way we do our chicken. It is a beautiful thing to be able to raise chickens. You invest in them and they give back to you. It is a beautiful cycle. We hope y'all enjoyed this video. Happy homesteading, y'all.